What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bass Lane Podcast. Thank you for joining us, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. And if you don't mind, if you're on YouTube, drop a subscribe and turn on those notifications so you don't miss another episode. And if you're on Facebook, like the page so you don't miss anything on that too. We've got a good episode coming up for you today. We've got Kaz Anderson. He fishes for Carson Newman. He is a hammer. Grew up in Georgia on some really good spotted bass lakes. So this guy's going to be spilling some juice on how to catch these the elusive spotted bass. So thank you again for joining. I'm really been looking forward to this one. I'm excited, and we're going to go ahead and get Kaz on here real quick. What's up, dude?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing?
I think they're doing good. I mean, are you guys doing pretty good?
I'd say everybody is. We're ready to talk some fishing.
Oh, yeah.
It should be a blast.
Should be.
Yeah, dude.
It should be. Kaz is a fun dude to be around if you've never met Kaz. He's I'll never forget the first time I met Kaz, it was at a Carson Newman the high school fishing camp. And we were and I think you made us answer a question, and whoever got like the best answer, you gave us a frit side. It was I think it was like the HD, like the blue crawl color. And I was like, oh yeah, I like this dude. He's giving out stuff.
Yeah, we were giving them out all the cool stuff. I think I was the only one that gave out prizes that day too.
Yeah. You were definitely the best instructor.
Had to be the most personal. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy that. It's always a fun event every year.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Are y'all doing another one this year?
Yeah, we are. I think we've got one in December. The December one's always a good turnout because everybody's like on Christmas break and they have time to do stuff. Yeah. But I'm glad to be speaking at seminars doing that stuff instead of driving around on golf carts shuttling everybody. It's definitely a lot better gig. But there's a bunch of stuff. I'm glad we do that event. It brings a lot of people out.
Yeah, definitely. I've been to 2 of them, I think, and I really enjoyed both of them. So if you haven't been to one of those, they're really fun. You get to meet all the guys. Meet Coach Sales. If you're looking to go to college, it's definitely a good option to look to.
No doubt.
And you get to learn a lot too. These guys are very knowledgeable in just about every field.
We learn as much from y'all as y'all do us. That's the good thing about fishing, for sure.
Yeah. Always learning.
No doubt. Never stop.
Never.
Nope.
Lance says, "What's up, Kaz?"
Lance is the man.
He's all right. I think – I don't know if you were there, but he sent me on Snapchat one day, and it was him with a selfie with like 5 of y'all at a gas station one day.
It definitely was. We were on our way to Dardanelle last October, and we stopped at 11 at a gas station and met up with him.
Yep.
Yeah. He was just randomly there at the right time, and somebody goes, "There's Lance Lanham." I was like, "Oh." But yeah,
he's kind of a famous boat captain.
I'd say famous, but I'd say he's been to a lot of tournaments.
Yeah, he's been to a couple.
I've started doing some boat captain and stuff. I actually kind of enjoy that. I think I'm going to captain a team this year for Georgia.
Sweet.
So, yeah, it's kind of fun. I like it.
Yeah, that'd be a fun gig.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt. But, yeah, I remember we were on Norfolk that day, and the open, and you were captaining somebody.
Yeah, no, that Evan, one of the kids that was on the boat that day, actually goes to school here now from Florida.
That's right. Yep, it was Evan Newell.
Evan Newell. We missed the Matty cut by 1 ounce. I felt terrible for that.
Oh man. Yeah,
that was fun though.
Yeah.
It was kind of a little leak hole.
Yeah, it was. We didn't do too hot after the first 10 minutes of that day, but that's okay. We'll just put that one behind us.
No doubt. That was long gone.
Oh yeah. So Kaz, you growing up in Georgia on Lake Chattooga, what was that like? I mean, what are your earliest memories of fishing?
Oh man, so whenever I first started, I fished my first tournament when I was 8. But I fished. My dad always took me in. Dad was always kind of into trout fishing, and he had a boat. Whenever I was born, he got into fishing with his buddy Jeff, and they traveled around and fished some just local tournaments here and there. They weren't really serious into it, but So obviously bass fishing has changed a lot in the last few years. And when I first started fishing, we didn't have any concept of fishing offshore for spotted bass. Although at the time we had like one of the best lakes in the country for it, and none of us ever even knew, right? So we would just drag worms down the bank, and a lot of my earliest memories are actually fishing off the bank at the Chattooga Dam or standing on a dock or ponds or something like that. And I vividly remember like starting out first, like my first tournament. Well, let's back up a little bit. I remember one day after school, I think I was in like first grade. Dad took me and my brother out after school. Mom was working. Dad didn't want to sit at the house, so he just drug us out there fishing, and we really weren't all that into it. And I'll never forget like actually catching a few by myself, dude. Like I was like, okay, I caught it on a trick worm, a green pumpkin trick worm, just dragging it down the bank. Caught some on a fluke, caught some on a jerk bait. Like back then, you could catch them on everything. We only threw like 5 or 6 baits, like very just like sanctioned fishing. Didn't really expand a whole lot. Didn't know where or why, but if they were blowing up on top water, you could catch them on a spook, and if they weren't, you could catch them on dragging a worm. That's about all we did. But man, that was a ball. I don't even remember really how big those things were. They couldn't have been very big because I was so little. But it was a blast. Like I'll never forget like the fire that it just lit. And like maybe my grandparents had a pond in front of their house, and I caught everything in there 6 times, named every one of them. I just wore it out every day.
Had them as pets.
Yeah, had them as pets, dude. And like I went through so many bags of Zoom trick worms, and like it was just wore them out on those little things. But earliest memories, that was definitely where it started. And we were in a little bass club that traveled to a lot of lakes, Lake Burton, Hiawassee Lake, Lake Chattooga, a lot of these lakes that nobody's ever even heard of that are just small, little up to 10,000 acre lakes that are around where I live in the mountains.
Yeah.
And, dude, they're just loaded with bass. So it was a awesome and just such a blessing to grow up in that place. It was just loaded with fish. And that was the thing for me is like I was never really faced with like just a true grinder of a lake until I started really traveling around the country. So my younger days of fishing were filled with just like smoking them on top water and just like fun stuff that really got me addicted to it. So I'm very fortunate in that aspect. And I do think like if I grew up in some parts of the country, there's no way I'd be a bass fisherman. I might still have, but like I wouldn't have loved it as much as I did without growing up where I did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know how it is. I mean, I'm sure you remember your first start as well, and it just like at the snowball effect when you get hooked on something is insane. And I played a few sports. I played baseball. I wrestled. I played golf. I did all kinds of stuff. So
golf.
Yeah, I play golf. I love
big golf guy. Really?
Dude, I still play golf all the time. And the other two, no thank you. But golf is like stuck with me. I love it. Me and my buddies play here all the time.
Oh yeah. But seems like a lot of fishing guys play golf too.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, it's just you can do it till you're 90 years old.
That's true. That is true.
And no, it's a ball. I'm a huge fan of golf. Just playing.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And you said your dad, he liked trout fishing when y'all were young. Is that a big thing where you live in Georgia?
Dude, like, I mean, we have like unreal amounts of streams and things like that. And, it's hard for me to do that now that I have a boat. But back then, whenever I didn't have a boat, me and my buddies, and we'd go fish the Nantahala River, Fires Creek, Buck Creek, and like whenever they have the delayed harvest trout sections and everything, and I don't even know the dates on this now, but we used to take it like, I mean, my dad would say, sharpen your hooks, we're going to Buck Creek, and we'd take a spinner over there and just wear them out. It was awesome. So he definitely did more of that younger because back, when he was growing up, he'll tell you like a boat was out of the question, and like only lake fishing they were sitting under a bridge with a campfire built catching striper with his buddies. Yeah. So that was all only concept of lake fishing that they had. So we definitely, that was the thing is in high school fishing, especially Dad and I were kind of learning together, and which kind of, which helped at the same time. I never really had my boat captain, we were always kind of learning at the same pace, which I think helped me as a whole learn to make better decisions because we were all at the same page, like I didn't, no past history, nothing. We were just going and we were learning together. Me and my partner and my section.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How has it changed around where you live? Like, are the lakes still as good as they used to be, or have the fish kind of become educated?
No, man, like a lot of these places, like I can think of like 12 or 13 different lakes that are within an hour drive of me that are just little places, and they're all different. There's smallmouth lakes, there's places that have hydrilla and grass, there's ledge fishing, there's everything. Like I'm 2 hours from literally everything. So I can, if one thing's not going off, another might be. And I've learned enough now to where used to, I would say like, oh, the lakes aren't as good as they once were, but fishing has adapted as a whole, and fishing has changed. And I'll say that, Chatuge may not have the amount of 5-pounders that it used to, spotted bass wise, but my personal best spot is still out of Chatuge. And it was last year. As much as I fished Lake Lanier and Hartwell and everything, I would have thought I would have caught one bigger. But Chatuge still holds my biggest one. It was almost a 6-pounder, which was like, but last year was insane. Like there was like 4 or 5 5-pounders weighed in that day. Whereas Lanier, everybody catches a 5-pounder during the course of a tournament. But it's definitely, they're still great. And we've had 2 collegiate national championships there, a bunch of high school tournaments, and we held the Bassmaster Angler of the Year championship on Chatuge back in 2018. And dude, the amount of change I've seen is like, the fishing is still phenomenal. Like you still go out there and catch 50 or 60 a day this time of year, and it's an awesome lake to guide on. But like throughout the years, quality of fish, like every lake goes in cycles. Like I've seen it where 3 fish limits and 8 pounds was a solid bag, 4 or 5 years ago. And now a 3 fish night tournament takes, 11 pounds of spotted bass every week.
It's crazy.
And, yeah. I mean, it's, I'm sure it'll go in another cycle, but right now it's definitely at a high point. And it's, as long as we keep taking care of the lake, there's a lot of herring in the lake. All the lakes around, Lake Notley, Burton, Lake Burton used to be like a huge swim bait lake. Now, like it's transferred. It's still got trout in it. It's just got giants. And 2 years ago, I caught one almost 12 pounds out of there, flipping a jig under a dock.
Jeez. Like a trout or a bass?
A largemouth.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, no, they get huge. There's a lot of places around the house that are loaded with bass. It's a fun area to fish.
Yeah. What did you catch your PB spot on?
I caught it on a small swim bait, like a 2.8. But we were live scoping that morning. We were in a tournament, sat down on this point, like probably 200 yards from the ramp on blast off. First cast, caught a hybrid about 8 pounds. Next cast, 570 something spot. Third cast, 10-pound hybrid. That was all there was to it. We didn't even have no giant bag that day. I think we only had like 18 pounds, but it was a fun. We smashed and we caught so many. But it was just, that day was awesome. It was a special day. Every fish you threw out on your forward facing, so you catch one. Every fish.
Yeah. Is live scope, is like that a very utilized deal down there on Chatuge?
Dude, the thing here is like, I've noticed in East Tennessee, or where I'm at now, the competition is like who can have a faster boat. And at home, it's who can have the biggest live scope. So, like, it's whoever has the baddest setup, the newest transducer, the biggest graphs. Like, it's changed everything. And we got live scope in January of 2020. Dude, like, you used to be able to take a topwater and flick it 10 feet from the boat at one that you'd see swimming. This is like February or March, and he'd come up and eat it. Like, it amazes me how we ever used to catch a bass before it. It really did. But, like, now it's like, yeah, you have to have it. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no way around it. You got to have it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's times a year where you don't to win, and, like, but I've got to have it personally. Everybody I know that succeeds has it around the house. And some lakes it doesn't even play on. They're too deep and steep to really use. The fish just, they tuck up so tight to the bank you can hardly see them. But no, it's definitely a solid tool.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think causes those cycles of making those lakes better at certain times, and then 2 or 3 years they might not be as good? I mean, is it just nature, or what exactly?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is because, like, weather. I think we can all base it back to weather. But like one year there might not be as good of a bait fish spawn. One year there might be, it might not get cold enough. There might not be a shad kill. So like it throws the whole ecosystem out of whack. So like if it gets really cold, bass don't die, but shad do. Therefore, there's not enough food next year. Therefore, some fish are gonna starve to death and get smaller and not grow as big. And I think it just transitions. That some years the water may raise a little bit higher, and one year of the water raising or lowering too fast in the springtime can mess up a spawn, and that will mess you up for a year or two. Gotcha. So, and it's kind of, like if you see that, and I think if you see a spawn not be as good this year, it may not be next year that might not be as good, but it might be, the year or two after that you might see, a little decline. But I don't think it's as noticeable as much anymore. Now that all the technologies come out and you find ways to adapt. But back then, when it was a set pattern every year that everybody was doing, and there was only so many ways you could catch a bass, I think that back then you noticed that type of stuff more. Whereas, now there's no hiding. So I think that's a lot of it contributed to it. It's definitely weather and nature based.
I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see where definitely if you had like a messed up spawn, that could really mess with it a little bit.
Major impact.
How do the spots? How do they differ from like largemouth and the spawn?
Spots aren't nearly as affected by it. That's really where we've had messed up water levels on Chatuge the last few years, and the largemouth populations really took a decline. But spotted bass, dude, they'll spawn like out on the tips of clay points and clay banks and pea gravel. They can spawn on everything.
Yeah.
And I've seen them, 10, 12, 15 feet of water on some clear, when the water's really clear, they'll spawn. And on Lanier, even they'll spawn in that deep brush, 15, 20 feet deep sometimes because the water's so clear. You can catch them dragging a worm in that brush and they'll be on the bed, especially a lot of your bigger ones. But the water level really doesn't affect their spawn that much. And like if you find them grouped up, you'll catch multiple off a bed in one little area.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But we don't really you can sight fish for them, but a lot of the most popular way to catch spawning spots is just throwing a swim bait or casting a weightless worm up on a point and dragging it back, something slow, and you'll run across them.
I got you.
But yeah, when the females pull up, you'll catch some, and they do it super fast. It's almost an inconvenience for them to spawn. I really don't think like the 5+ pound spots, I don't think they even spawn anymore.
Really?
I just think they just chase herring the entire life.
Gotcha. Do the largemouth really, do they chase the herring on Chatuge or anywhere they're down there?
Yeah, for sure. They definitely will. You'll catch them more in the fall for some reason. They don't get out there as much in June when the thing like first starts.
Yeah.
But like September, October, that first cold snap, you'll catch, probably 10 or 15% largemouth over brush whenever they're biting really good. And some days they show up more than others. But I mean, I've had clients catch numerous 5-7 pounders on top waters over brush in the fall.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, I know. It's just like you've been catching, 2 and 3 pound spots all day, the occasional 4, and then all of a sudden you pull up on a place and goosh, and it's just a giant largemouth. You're like, where'd he come from?
That's awesome. What are your top baits for? Is it more of like brush piles or the cane piles or what is it?
I kind of treat those the same way. So Chatuge doesn't really have timber like your Hartwells and Lanier. So when there's so many things that you can catch them on, and it just depends solely on the weather. And there's little nuances that make it better than others. Recently, this time of year, when it's super hot, they've been beat on a little bit, it's harder to make them come to the surface and commit to stuff. Where like earlier in the year, like in June, you need a chrome cane walker, and that's it. Like it doesn't matter if it's windy, if it's slick, rain, shine, they're gonna bite that thing. And then as you see it kind of progress, I try not to ever drag anything through the brush on an initial cast at least. But like flutter spoons. Magic swimmers like the Berkley Magic Swimmer, spy baits, riser type baits, top waters, flukes, like everything. You could use all kinds of stuff. And I keep there's definitely some like old school stuff like weight baits and different types of like pencil baits that are out. Used to, that was a big deal, but I've never really paid attention. Like I don't really get dialed in enough to say, okay, they're biting a spook, or they're biting a spook over a vixen, or they're biting a cane walker over a shower blows, or anything like that. Like there's certain baits that I like, and that I throw stuff that's louder on windier days and quiet stuff on quiet days, just to I'll tweak things to get more bites. But this time of year, I find that a fish head spin, or a flutter spoon, or something like that gets down to those fish, something like that works a lot better.
Gotcha.
So I basically just take it time of year. And once the cold snaps start and water temp drops a degree or two, pleasure boaters get off the lake on the weekends. That's going to make things like they were at the beginning of the year, where you don't have to put a thing near them. You just throw it over there and they're going to come up and crush it. So I'm hoping that weather's on its way pretty soon. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
it
just changes by the time of year.
Right. Do they stay on that stuff, like those brush piles and stuff, year round, or how does that change throughout the course of the year?
You can always catch, a 10, 12 pound limit out of brush every day of the year, but there's definitely better deals. But I'm going to say anytime from March all the way through mid-October, I'm fishing nothing but brush piles and places that, you could put a brush pile. November, December, January, February, it's solely, maybe rock or ditches or just roaming fish as a whole. But the vast majority of the year, your best pattern is always brush or timber or anything like that.
Gotcha. What do you think there's a reason they just love the brush more than they like just sitting on deeper, rocky stuff, or is it just the way the lake sets up, or the herring?
I think a lot of the reason there's some places where if I'm catching them off a shallow place, I've seen them get on a rock or a house foundation before you can bring them up off something like that. They might be sitting on something hard. But I think brush, obviously fresh brush is good because it brings bait fish in, but it also brings little bass. So, just a good pile that's been there for a while is usually the best. But I think they just use it as an ambush point. And on a lake like Chatuge where there's nothing out there, it's just, contours. And if you put fish are automatically going to be on those good contours. And if you take all the brush away, you could catch fish off the same places that there's brush piles. So, and just for the fact that there's a point or a hump or a channel swing or something like that. But if you, put brush on it, it just gives them an opportunity to pounce on something. And I think bass definitely notice, okay, this is my best chance at jumping out and scaring this herring.
Gotcha.
So I think they use that. But if you took the brush away, you'd still be able to do it. But the brush just makes it easier for you because it's easier to call one up 10 feet below the surface than it would be calling one up off the bottom.
Right.
Whenever that brush is vertical,
Yeah, makes sense. So, an if question: what is your opinion on banning live scope on the Elite Series?
Well, controversial topic over the last few weeks.
Everywhere.
I'll be the first to say I think all that stuff is annoying. First of all, I think it's just technology. It's a tool. And,
right.
I don't want to get far into it, but I will say personally, if they ban the tournament trail or if they ban live scope on the tournament trail I'm fishing, I will no longer be fishing that trail. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's brought so much enjoyment and got so many people into fishing. Think about how many young kids that, it's sad to say in a sense, but have related to fishing because they love video games and now they can watch this and they feel like they actually have a chance of catching one. And, then they, get into it and evolve and find ways to catch fish without using that graph. Now they're hooked on fishing. We've got somebody else, that's pouring themselves into this industry. But pre-live scope, you had to know the same things that all the old guys do. And a lot of people are complaining because they've got beat by it. And there's so many cliche sayings and so many people that are using – there's so many people that are using that as a stance to get their name out there right now. Oh, everybody's making a video on it. Let me make a video on why I think live scope should or should not be banned. And truth be known is everybody that's using it and that's had success with it does not agree that it should be banned. And that's over 90% of people that bass fish. And I'd be guaranteeing to bet that, you know, Bassmaster, MLF, or anything would not be able to function without it. Do I think that, like, for viewing purposes, I think, like, for the guy that's just average guy that's, you know, like, you know, my uncle sits at the house and watches fishing, I don't think it's as enjoyable for him as what it might used to have been. But, like, you know, they can change that up. And somebody that truly enjoys the sport finds the same joy in watching somebody catch one on Champlain 40 foot deep, you know, on the WP rig as I do watching somebody punch a mat. Like, I think it's equally as awesome.
Yeah, for sure. What I really liked that I saw them do, I don't know if it might have been Cody Huff at Champlain maybe. They put his live screen like up on the live so you could see exactly what he was looking at.
Yeah, I think that's cool, man. Like, you've got to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's such a big part of our sport now, and everybody, like, people are making 6 figures a year off of specializing in installing live scopes and making people's graphs better. Like, that's a main focus in the industry right now. Like, people are, I mean, look at your main Sonar Pros, Bass Boat Electronics, Sea Clear Power. Like, all those guys are literally, like, making good livings off of bettering electronics. So I think if you ban that, then you're cutting those guys out, and, like, you're cutting Garmin out as a whole, like, and Lowrance and all the major manufacturers that have done so much over time. And the thing is with it, it's like you're literally punishing these major companies for doing everything correct. That's my opinion on it.
Gotcha. Do you think we'll see a ban?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't think it'll get to that. I think somebody might put a limit on something, which I mean, I don't really understand if it's out there for everybody. It's like, you know, it's like there's no limit on the amount of chicken tenders you can order at McDonald's. Like, I mean, you can order 20 of them if you want to, and it's up to you. Like, I mean, you can have 4 live scope transducers, or you can have just one. I personally, you know, I'm trying to figure out how everybody's using multiple, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I'd like to know, because, I mean, if it's a big advantage, I'd like to know about it. But I just think, you know, in this day and age, and if you want to compete, you've got to have the best stuff. And you don't have to have the best stuff, but if you want to give yourself the best edge and you take it very seriously, I don't see why you wouldn't.
For sure,
you could.
Yeah, definitely. Another question on the kind of the topic of electronics from DH Fishing. Would you rather have live scope or like 360?
Live scope, no brainer for me. The type of fishing that I do. Now in Florida, I would still, you know, everybody talks about using Mega 360 in Florida just for seeing shell beds and grass, and it's awesome. And to be honest, I haven't spent a whole bunch of time to really get honed in. I might have spent 2 weeks total in a boat that had 360 on it. But to be honest with you, if I had to pick one, it's no doubt live scope, just because you can still see holes in the grass and you can flip it on its side and get perspective mode. And there's definitely a time where 360 is going to be like, I would look at it. If I had it all 3 up front, I would definitely look at my 360 over my live scope sometimes. But live scope transducers are quiet. That's a benefit. And everything's live. Like, if I see a fish swimming in a hole in the grass, I can pitch to it at that very moment.
Yeah.
And for me, I move really fast, and 360 doesn't update quick enough for where I can really get a true reading on a
For sure. Doesn't really keep up with how fast of a pace you fish.
No, like, if you're power pole down, it's unreal. It's awesome technology.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It seems to be better for, like, if you're just running down a bank, like, you don't have to look down at your trolling motor and pan around with live scope. Like, you just look down and you have the whole 360 around you, like, to see structure. Maybe not necessarily individual fish, but like a brush pile out 60 foot to your left. You know, you just make a quick pitch over there.
Mm-hmm. And grass and rock are like shines 100%.
Definitely. 100%. Detour here off of the electronics train. How you fish for Carson Newman? How many years have you been fishing for them?
This is my 4th year. It's my final semester, man.
Final semester.
Yeah, I know. I'm not excited to graduate.
Yep.
Soak it in. Everybody always told me, it'll be over before you know it, and you don't wish it away. But I definitely, I'm thinking about not going to class this semester so I can come back next semester, man.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding.
So you'll be graduated by the end of 23.
Yeah.
So will you still get to fish on to after you officially graduate?
I think I could if I wanted to, based on Bassmaster and Major League Fishing rules. I think I could if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to take advantage of that. And it's not because I don't want to, but I have a job lined up, and I'd really like to just get started with life, man. Move on. If I'm not able to be in school and hang out with all my buddies, which is the best part of it all, anyways. Is I live with 2 of the guys on the team. They're my best friends, and I wouldn't want to come to school here if it was just me on this fishing team and I was getting to collegiately bass fish. There's no way I would do it, man. This is like the camaraderie and just the team atmosphere is where it's at. And if with next semester I wouldn't be able to be as part of that as much, so I really I probably just need to put it on the back burner, move on, still hang out, but it's just the college tournaments that probably won't happen for me.
Yeah. How has college fishing helped you go on to that next stage of your life?
Oh, dude. And it's learning to travel. And some people, I traveled a lot, BFLs open, stuff like that. I learned to travel independently, but this has helped me leaps and bounds under learning to, life on the road, life lessons as far as balancing, juggling a lot of things in your life, social time, school, fishing, and then you gotta balance it all. And just as obviously going to different bodies of water too has been huge. So I've been so many places, all over the country that I would have never went without college fishing or my some places that I'm grateful for and some that I'm definitely not, like Gardner. Or any of those places like that, man, that are just kind of people don't look forward to it as much, but some of my best memories with the team or at those tough events, because we're all sitting around like, man, this lake sucks or something. We down in the dumps and make a funny joke, and we're looking forward to getting back and hanging out with everybody. And nothing would ever be as fun if there wasn't a little bit of adversity. And we go to all these places that are
definitely
taught us a ton, man. And everybody, the past 3 years, this will be our 3rd year that a bunch of us had planned a trip to Florida before we have our tournaments there in January. And we'll go down there before the off limits and book a house. And dude, some of my best memories just going down there with some guys on the team, renting a house before or after Christmas. And we're having a ball, man, just learning a bunch and good fellowship. And you've got it made, dude. You're going to have a blast. It's going to be the best 4 years of your life. Really.
Yep. What do you, what's your favorite lake that you've went to because of college? You've had a tournament there on the schedule.
Dude, that I hadn't been to before college, it'd have to be Saginaw Bay.
Yep.
It's just we were there at a great time and caught it at the right time. And it may not I've definitely fished places that might have been better, but it was just fun, dude. I've never had my arm hurt so bad from setting the hook on a frog. And it was just unreal. And just the Great Lakes as a whole, that feeling when you're out in the middle of those giant waves and you can't see land anywhere, it's scary, but it's cool at the same time. And it makes you look forward to getting back to the bank and seeing your buddies.
Yeah.
But no, dude, that place I've been to some cool places. That out in my mind.
So definitely sad about missing that one on the schedule this year.
Yeah, I am. I'm sad. I'd go back. I actually went this summer and checked it out one day. I drove. Me and some buddies went to St. Clair, and one day the wind blew a little bit. I was like, let's run up to Sag Bay. So we rode up there and checked it out and fished, and dude, we crushed them again. That place is unreal.
It is. That's awesome. I'm glad they brought it back again this year. I mean, that was definitely it's my favorite. It's got to be.
It's cool. It's loaded.
It is. It has. I think it's just so good because nobody fishes. I mean, there's it's so much area and there's not enough bass fishermen up there to account for all the fish. It's not like down here where like every fish sees 5 different crankbaits every single day because everybody fishes. There's just so many fish up there that are untouched.
Yeah, bass are looked at as like a nuisance up there, man.
Yeah,
walleye fishing. So I understand why we caught some big ones, but no walleye. I mean, it's a different world, dude. Like you go into a tackle shop, and I like looking at all the muskie and walleye baits. That's like my favorite part about going up north is seeing those huge like things that look like squirrels, dude. And, like a muskie would eat that thing up. So that's definitely one of the coolest parts about it. We've been all over the place, man. I don't even remember. There's probably some places that rival Saginaw Bay that don't, and places we've had good tournaments that like I might have been to beforehand. But golly, man, that one sticks out. It was an awesome trip.
What about like what are your plans for the future after graduate and all that? Are you gonna fish the opens? Or are you not really looking into that, or what's the deal?
I'm definitely moving along in the industry, but I'm not looking forward to I'm not gonna do the fishing side of things as much. Maybe later in life, but right now I'm trying to get ahead and move on and just hustle. Really, I'm working for Dynamic sponsorships. So I'll be doing marketing for Yamaha and Toyota, planning a lot of their events, NASCAR, Elite Series events, things like that. I'll be in charge of a lot of that stuff. And that kind of came into place this year, and I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready to get started. I really am.
Definitely.
I'll guide some as well. I'm trying to keep my guide business going. Whenever I have time to.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that. We even talked about that.
Dude, so when I was in middle school, when I was really getting into fishing, my dad, he told me this after it all started, but he bought website domains or created them, and that didn't cost hardly anything. And we own the website domains for fishchatooga.com, Lake Chatooga bass fishing, all that stuff. That way, like I could be one of the only guides on the lake. So I figured I'd like to guide. So I worked in my grandpa's auto parts store when I was just getting to drive. I didn't have a boat. And then that was fun. Learned a lot. And once I got a boat, I was like, okay, this could be like I could run a guide service. I had a 1996 Bass Cat Pantera with an old Yamaha. It had like 1,200 hours on it. And dude, that thing saw some fish. I mean, and it started out. My first trip ever. Funny story. My first trip ever was a blind guy. Try taking a blind guy fishing.
First guide trip ever.
First one I ever had, man. I was just turned 16 years old, and it was scary. He had his helper with him and everything, and there's some funny stories, man. I got one. The blind guy caught a fish. It was awesome. He was like a crazy good dude. I felt so bad. I held up for a high five.
Oh man!
He was like, like moving his hand around because I was like, "Don't leave me hanging." And I forgot, like, I don't deal with blind people.
Oh, that's bad.
I felt like this. It was so bad. First guide trip ever. So, but we made it through that one. And then the first year, didn't do a whole lot of trips. As any business starts, you expect something to start slow. And next year, ran a few more. And now, I've booked every day this year just about. And I have a guide at home that runs trips for me. And he does an excellent job, and it's a fully functional business now. It's a shame. I love it. And like at the end of the summer, I'm burnt out just because I've took 2 or 3 different groups of people every day. I see some unreal things. I have some hard days on the water, but overall, I love it. And it's helped me become a better angler. It's helped me become a better person. And it was a great thing to do whenever I was growing up.
For sure. So you started when you were 16.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to have like a guide license or any of that stuff back then?
No.
Really?
And no. I mean, I do have a guide license, but it literally costs like $5. And but all our lakes around home are not navigable waterways. Like the Tennessee River, you can go from Watts Bar to Chickamauga to Nickajack, and you can travel on through. So that's a navigable waterway. Where at home we don't have that, so I don't have to have any of the fancy certificates or anything like that. And
so that
going to make sure you're properly insured and get a guide license, yada, 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 make sure everything's up to date, up to speed all the time, and you're good.
Sweet. So that definitely makes it a little more simple.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it doesn't have to go through all like the Coast Guard or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is good. Like, I mean, I've been close to doing that as a whole, and I've definitely made sure I was always up to date and always definitely played by the rules. But when I read up on it, I didn't have to go through any of like the high level classes for it, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. What about like as like a high school angler? What did you fish in high school?
I did. I fished Georgia Bass Nation, and back then we would have upwards of 200 and something boats in a tournament. I graduated in 2020, so 2016, 17, 18, 19, all that stuff I was fishing. And I had a partner that was a year or two older than me, and he graduated. And I had a partner, a little bit different partner, the next 2 years. And then, but we didn't go through my school. We started a club called the Chattooga Anglers. And dude, that club's actually like still going on. We got kids fishing in high school under the Chattooga Anglers that are from all over the place. Like, we've had people from Atlanta, we've had people from Chattanooga, we've had people from all over the place fishing under it. For kids that are in school that doesn't want to sponsor a team like I had, and it was awesome. My best memories, dude. A lot, and like we still are best friends with some of the guys that we'd fish with. Brooks Anderson, Koza, Carter and Lee Rose fished, Cal Culpepper, Noah Pescatelli kicking their Bass TV was with us when we first started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, everybody high school fished, dude. It was awesome. Yeah, Cody Stahl fishes the opens. He's a dang hammer. I know I'm missing Troy Harris, Merritt Arnold. I know I'm missing a few, but like, dude, these kids could dang catch them. And we went to Lanier, Hartwell, Seminole, Eufaula, Oconee, West Point, Chattooga. Went to a bunch of good lakes and places that are just very diverse and different. And it was a good state to fish in because nothing was ever like the same. And
definitely.
And like, we'd always get together at big tournaments, and dude, our families have become such good friends. Every November, we'd have a Thanksgiving tournament at Chattooga, or our November tournament around Thanksgiving would always be at Chattooga. So we'd be at my house. Everybody would get together there, cook out big, and there'd be a Christmas parade, dude. It was like it was more than fishing. It was friendships, dude. It was unreal.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about the what? Go ahead.
It was a good competition as well. Like, those kids.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think just like high school fishing as a whole, like you grow so much, like, and you definitely have that competition. Like, I mean, and how many people you fish against too. It's like, I mean, it is a big tournament, like 200, 150, 200, 300 boats. I mean, it's a lot of people.
Nobody fished against more anglers in a more stacked field than high school, bro. Like, I mean, you just fished against 480 something boats in the collegiate or in the high school championship at Hartwell. I mean, it's crazy, dude. A lot of these guys that are fishing at the highest level have never fished against a field that big, and it changes things, man. Like, when you're fishing against 100 boats, like, and that's the thing that's one of my greatest, like, that's one of my biggest takeaways from high school fishing is learning, like, common courtesy. You got to be nice when there's 400 boats on the water. You got to be nice, and you got to work with people. You got to be vocal, and it teaches you a lot of lessons, man, about who's good, who's bad, who's going to do this, and different scenarios that you might see, and learning how to strategize and make you a better angler when there's that many people. You got to learn, like, okay, I need to hit this first because it's probably going to get picked over. Like, there's so many things that I can think back to that had I been fishing against 30 or 40 boats, you would have never learned those lessons. If somebody gets 50 yards from you, you're going to raise cane and pitch a fit, and you just can't do that, man.
Yeah.
And it's just part of it.
For sure. If you had one piece of advice to give a high school angler that's wanting to move up to college, what would it be?
Obviously do well in school. But first, just be you, man. Like, the biggest thing, and I see a lot of this now, is like everybody's a sticker chaser, and I might get some hate for that, but not. Everybody wants to, get the next sponsorship or blow everything up. But if you truly love the sport of bass fishing, you're a talented angler and you carry yourself well, and social media is definitely like where you get noticed at. And I mean, sometimes like social media wasn't as crucial when I was in high school. I'm not dating myself, but in the last few years, social media has really blown up.
Definitely.
So, when I was in high school, you got seen by somebody, a coach, and there wasn't that many of us. But now there's so many. So, like, if you just carry yourself and just kind of, be nice to everybody, you have a great reputation, and just talk to as many people as you can, I think that's what's going to move you up. And applying to schools, I think a lot. And I was confused, because when I was in high school, dude, to be honest with you, I didn't have much ambition to go to college. I wasn't about it, and that was so silly of me. But like I didn't see the value in an education. But my biggest advice is don't go to school based on somewhere that you just really want to go just because they have a fishing team. Go somewhere that you can get a good education, because ultimately that's going to, project your life later on. Like Carson Newman offered an awesome business program, and they had a bass fishing team. It was a good combo. And I transferred here because of that reason. I started out going to Western Carolina, and the fishing team there wasn't as serious. And, that was fine with me. Like, I didn't have to be on like a serious fishing team. Like, and that's the thing, man. Like, you don't have to go to one of these schools that really, recruits and acts like it's, a crazy sports team. It's good because you get a lot of benefits. And like at Carson, dude, we get treated like kings. It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have a lot of success going to places where they might be funding themselves, but the biggest key is just following your heart, going somewhere you can get a good education. You might be around some of your buddies, and somewhere that just suits your environment. And then if they have a good fishing team, it's a bonus. And this place truly, it was a good like blend of it all for me. Like if they didn't have a fishing team and the same group of guys were here, I would come here in a heartbeat. So you definitely want to just follow your heart and do the best you can. Choose based on education, and think outside the box, and think more in the future based on like right now. So
gotcha.
That would be the best advice I could give somebody.
That's good stuff. Kaz is full of wisdom.
No, I wish, buddy. There's a lot to learn. We all do.
Do you think Stevie Mills will retire at Carson Newman? Rumor has it he's not leaving.
I'd say Steve will probably be a janitor here one of these days. I'd say Steve's going to do big stuff, but he's going to leave. I think he's graduating next semester, the semester after me.
Man.
But, yeah. Steve's the man, dude. I live with Stevie. Me and Stevie and my partner Will, we all live together.
I'm sure that's interesting.
We have a ball. Stevie's a good cook. I've been telling him he needs to go into culinary school. He's a dang good cook.
Man, Stevie can cook
really well. Like, surprise me. Like he's insane.
So is he the chef when you're traveling around all the tournaments?
No. Hunter's the chef, and he's definitely got some work to do. I wish Steve. Yeah, man. Hunter makes. Well, I mean, we've played baseball with some of the steaks and hamburgers that we've ate before, man. I mean, like I can like I don't even bring a hook file to tournaments anymore. I just use one of the steaks I'm eating, and I can eat the steak.
So is that another factor to take into account? Is your coach going to cook you good food when you travel?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. And Hunter's getting better. So don't anybody that's looking to come to Carson Newman, don't take it personal. Hunter's learning. But whenever I first started, dude, I mean I got chips all in my teeth, bro.
He's taking lessons from Steve.
Yeah, he better be soon. Stevie's a good teacher at cooking. I've learned a lot from Stevie. I suck at cooking, but dude, we've made like deer meat steaks here, and he can just cook anything. Like, I mean, he don't like. I'm calling my mom like, "Hey, mom, like, how long do I put this in? Like, what temperature?" Stevie's like, "Oh yeah, just put it in there for around 350, about 20 until it looks done." And he's got an eye for it and just knows like what it should be. So he's handy, dude.
That's about a cup and a half right there.
Yeah, for sure. And he just measures it out. He's like, put about that much in there.
Yep. What's your go-to pre-tournament meal?
Pre-tournament meal?
Pre-tournament meal.
We usually always eat some just awesome Mexican food.
Mexican food. That's a go-to for a lot of people.
Yeah, just hammer down some Mexican food. Ben Kelly on our team always gets chicken soup.
Chicken soup.
I've never seen him go to a Mexican restaurant where he didn't get soup. And I'm a basic guy. I'm an enchilada or chicken, cheese, and rice. I'm that type of guy. But
Yeah.
Mexican food is the deal. Always hits the spot.
Always.
Yeah.
If you could only fish with one lure, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I can only fish one lure. It'd have to be just a shaky head. When I was a co-angler on the opens, dude, I swear I bet 80% of the bass I weighed in were on shaky head and always did pretty well. But I mean, I throw it, dude. I've caught them on it in Florida, to Oklahoma, and I mean up north they bite it. They bite it in Wisconsin. It works everywhere.
Yeah.
If I had to have one bait for spotted bass fishing, it wouldn't even be a question. It'd be a shaky head with a hitworm, the Magnum hitworm, 7-inch
hitworm. The big one. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. If I had to have one bait, dude, that would be it.
But is that for smallmouth, largemouth, and spots?
Everything, dude. It catches
everything.
I would use that. If you gave me for the rest of my life, just give me the Berkley Fusion 3/16 shaky head with a bunch of packs of green pumpkin Magnum hitworms, and I'd feel like you could catch a bass on that anywhere you go, no doubt.
It's solid setup to take anywhere.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out, Presley.
It's a solid setup to take bat anywhere. Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, man. Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better, yep.
All right. Another question. What's your prediction for the weight at Clarks Hill in February?
The weight at Clarks Hill in February, I'm going to say it's going to take to win probably 22 or 23 pounds a day.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to that lake? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I fished there quite a bit. It's a good place. It's probably like 3.5, 4 hours from my house.
Okay.
It's got herring in it. It's not like a traditional herring lake though. It fishes like a lot of shallow water, chatterbait, spinnerbait. That time of year, it's going to be a lot of just like you would fish in Tennessee, man. Just shallow water structure and rocks and wood and things like that. It's going to be the deal.
Just kind of junk fishing.
Junk fishing, yep. A bunch of different baits.
And DH Fishing asks, what is the best topwater bait?
The best topwater bait? It's going to have to be, for me, if I had to pick one, Berkley makes a jaywalker, and it's a combination of like you can walk it slow, like a spook style bait, or you can create a lot of ruckus with it, like a pencil popper, but it doesn't have a cupped lip, but it's got rattles in it, and I throw it everywhere. It works. I like the small size, the 2-hook.
I got you. You can't beat a spook or a spook style bait.
One thing I will say, this is a hot topic on my mind right now.
Hot topic of the day with Kaz.
Everybody in Tennessee calls every topwater that they've ever thrown a spook.
It is.
If it's a vixen, if it's a rover, if it's a repo man, if it's anything, it's a spook.
I mean,
I've never understood that.
I mean, it's kind of like Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola. I mean, they're all Coke. Like,
no,
yeah, I got a Coke.
No, I don't agree.
I mean, it's like the same thing.
No, I don't agree.
I agree.
It blows my mind. Everybody, I always like somebody the other day said, "Yeah, I caught some on a spook." I was like, "Okay, like you talking about like head and super spook, or you talking?" And they ended up it was a tackle kick knocker. I was like, "Okay, so you're coming."
What's your favorite spook or spook style bait?
The old school vixen's hard to beat.
Do they still make those?
They make Reaction Innovation vixens. Yes, they do now. I know they did last year.
Yeah.
It was a popular bait. It's hard to do. Back whenever I was young, all me and Dad threw was the 3-hook saltwater super spook.
Yeah.
We smashed them on that thing. It was awesome. Like old school stuff.
Yeah.
Now I definitely like more modern topwaters seem to work.
Not the silver saltwater, the mat hooks.
No, you got to change them suckers out.
Oh yeah,
you got to change those out big time.
What's your PB and where?
My PB was a 11-pound, 7-ounce largemouth on Lake Burton. Caught it on a jig under a dock, like a foot and a half of water. I skipped class one day in my first semester at Carson Newman. I was coming back home from the weekend, and I skipped my Monday class and drove up there to Lake Burton and fished solo and caught it. It was one of the best days of bass fishing I've ever had.
So if you have a hunch to miss your class and you're just feeling like you might catch a PB, do you
If you're feeling
recommend
that tingly feeling, bro, you better leave.
you better leave?
Better go to the lake.
Ethan Rose says, do you prefer power fishing or finesse fishing?
I love finesse fishing, dude. Love it. If I could, I would rather catch a bass on a spinning rod as a I've always said I would rather catch one on a bait or on a shaky head as a topwater, which sounds crazy to a lot of people. But like spotted bass fishing in the wintertime, feeling one smoke like just thump my worm like super deep gets me just as fired up as watching one just mash a topwater. Gets me excited. Yeah,
I'm with you. Honestly, I think I have a spinning rod in my hand more than I have a bait caster in my
I
hand.
know for a fact I do, and I love it. I'd rather fight a fish on a spinning rod as a bait caster every day of the week.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's just fun, and I feel like I play them a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Is Lake Burton the lake that has a bunch of houses built over the water?
Yes, they've got some giants. Nick Saban has a house there. Alan Jackson, like it's crazy. The homes there, it's insane. The boat houses on the lake cost more than like your average house, like over $1 million boat docks.
Jeez.
They're all like rock work, TVs, fireplaces, kitchens on the dock.
That's wild.
It's insane.
So is it a big like a pleasure boating lake?
Yeah, it's crazy. You don't want to be out there on Labor Day weekend.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Got a couple more topics to go over before we this up. What would you say was like the biggest turning point in your fishing career?
Man, where I really like got going, it was like, that's hard to say.
And if there's a couple, you can list a couple too.
Well, so I do remember one okay, this is definitely the biggest turning point. And let's rewind back to my sixth. I was in the 6th grade.
Young Cads.
Yes, young dude. I wasn't 4.5 foot tall, and me and my buddy Luke, he was a year or two older than me. It was my first high school tournament I ever fished. And it was on Lake Chatoog. It was a little local trail that we had. It was the first one they ever had. And dude, we were so excited. We sucked at fishing. We were awful. And Luke and I went out, but we both Luke had never fished a tournament ever. And he was allergic to fish.
Really?
Just a kid I've met at school, and he's like my best friend now. But he was allergic to fish. He had to wear gloves and stuff.
Like literally allergic.
Couldn't touch him, dude. If he touched him, we were gonna have to stick an EpiPen in it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So we get out there that morning, catch like a 3.5 pounder, catch a 4 pounder, back to back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And Luke throws. I'm not joking. He's got a medium heavy spinning rod with mono on it with a Yo-Zuri floating jerk bait. It was orange and black. It was about this long. And he throws it up on this little point, and he's just ripping that thing, dude. Just not letting it float back up. Just jerking the heck out of it, dude. He leans into it and he goes, dude. He said, I've got one. It comes up and jumps, goes under the boat. Crazy fight. We net it. Luke's first bass in a tournament ever, dude, was a 7 pounder, 697. First bass ever. We came in that day. We had 4 fish for 16 pounds. Won the tournament by 3 pounds. And dude, I was the youngest one there by a long shot. And there's pictures of us somewhere holding the trophy. And dude, the trophy's as tall as me. It was awesome. I called everybody I knew, told everybody we didn't win any money, but we just had the trophy. And dude, it was awesome. So,
was that a high school tournament or was it just a local tournament?
It was a local, I'm not gonna say high school. It was a youth tournament, middle school.
Gotcha.
There had to be a high schooler in the boat, but I was the middle schooler. But it was awesome. I'll never forget that. And Luke's holding his 7 pounder at the weigh-in with a set of those fish grippers.
Oh my!
Those big white goofy fish grippers that people hold grouper and stuff with. He's holding a 7 pounder by it.
Oh man!
Yeah, no.
Where was that at? What lake was that at?
Chatoog.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We had a local trail that went back and forth between Chatoog and Hiawassee. It alternated every month.
Gotcha. What is the Hiawassee like?
It's super deep. It's one of the bigger lakes around my house, like 12,000 acres. But it's super deep. A lot of like straight rock bluff walls, smallmouth, largemouth, and spotted bass in it, and it's got tons. The quality's not that great, but in the wintertime you can go down there and like it'll take probably 15 or 16 pounds to win any tournament, but it's got tons of them. Like it's one of those places you sit there and you catch 20 out of one ditch. Like it's awesome.
So is that the same Hiwassee that flows into Chick?
Yes, same one.
Okay,
gotcha. Yeah, Hiwassee River flows right through, right by my house, passes through Lake Chatuge, Hiwassee Lake, and eventually it ends up in Chickamauga.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how that all works.
It is. I didn't realize until I started like actually bass fishing. I never realized like how connected all the lakes and the rivers are. Like you can take this place and you can go from New York to all the way to Louisiana if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's wild. All of it's connected somehow or another.
Yep. Got a couple more questions before we wrap up. If you had to pick one lake for spotted bass, Hartwell or Lanier?
It'd have to be Lanier for spotted bass. If you haven't been to Lake Lanier, you've got to go soon because like
I've never been.
Dude, I promise you go out there, you don't have to know a lot. Like you just go out there and get on a point. There's a brush pile on it. If you got a minute, throw your stuff over there. They come up, and I promise you will see a 5-pounder throughout the day. At some point, it's loaded with giants. And I don't know another lake, especially with spotted bass, but almost like largemouth at all. I don't know another lake that takes 20 pounds every weekend. It doesn't matter if it's Labor Day, holiday, it doesn't matter. And like it's a straight spotted bass, and it's every weekend. In the wintertime, from October through April, if you don't have 22, 23 pounds, you can forget it.
That's crazy. On spotted bass.
On spots. You won't see a largemouth in the bunch.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Wild. Another controversial topic of the night. Is it true Mount Druitt's looking for redemption at Percy Priest after the butt whooping Alcoa put on this weekend? It is true. We're gonna try to make a comeback on Priest, but we've got a little bit of a home lake curse. Priest is a tough one. I guess Kaz, that's about it. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you everybody for clocking in and asking questions and just listening in. And thank you again, Kaz, for coming on.
This is all. Thank y'all for watching, and let's do another one sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one when you're big time guide service guy.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do a live stream on the water, catching some spots.
We'll do it. We'll do it. We'll put that one down on the books.
No doubt.
Thank you again, guys, for joining in. Join us next week, again, Monday at 7:30 Central Time. We'll be having another podcast. Looking forward to it. I will post later in the week who that will be with. Just thank you guys for all the support, joining in with us every week and listening. And we're just looking forward to the future, the rest of the high school season coming up. And we will see you guys next week. Thank y'all.
See you guys.